Imagine, if you will, that you're living life, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You have a job, you're going to school, you're doing all the things that you should be doing. However, it feels like your life maybe is on pause. There's a play button, there's a pause button, and for whatever reason, you feel as though there's something missing. You're doing great things, and that's kind of where I was. I had a great marriage, great family. I was a stay-at-home mom for beautiful kids, but there was something missing. I felt continually, every day, like the pause button was on my life, and I couldn't figure out how to find that play button. It is important to understand that we are all designed and uniquely created and crafted in order to make a positive impact in this world. Every set of eyes in the room or online viewing this, you were uniquely designed and created to make a positive impact in this world. There are gifts and talents that you have. There are resources around you that are available to you that you know of that you can leverage to make a positive impact in the world around you and someone else's life. It's also very important to understand that you're valuable. We all contribute something to this world in society. It doesn't matter where you are a person of faith or you're not a person of faith, or you're law enforcement, or you're an NGO, or it doesn't matter what kind of classifications you can put on yourself. You're valuable. We add something. We contribute something to this world. And it's also important to understand that we're free to choose. We have free thinking. We're free to choose to engage in a fight, to change the trajectory of someone's life for the good, or to live an ordinary life of complacency, doing work, doing life, going to the grocery store and doing very normal things. However, I submit to you that no one hearing these words today was created and designed for a life of complacency and comfortableness. We are all supposed to be doing something beyond what we think that we're supposed to be doing. I want to take you back. Imagine, if you will, you're in 8th grade, you've just transferred to a different school, and you're trying to identify who you're going to be at this school. Who are you? What are you? What group are you going to fit into? What classes you're going to take? What are you going to excel in? What sports? Well, that was me. I was in 8th grade, transferred to a new school, and I found myself in a very vulnerable situation with one of my peers, a fellow student who everybody thought was Mr. Perfect, Mr. Everything. And we were at a football game, and he asked me to step away for a moment, and I wound up being sexually assaulted by this person. And it radically changed how I viewed everything. The fact of the matter is that trauma, especially sexual trauma, reworks our worldview, especially in formidable years as a child. It reconstructs, it shatters everything, and then your worldview has to be built back up through the very thick lens of trauma. Your relationships you have, how you perceive the world, how you perceive faith, religion, other people, what you hear, trauma. Everything that you have from the future is now viewed through the lens of trauma. There's healing for it if we decide to take an empowered step to get help, or we can live through it and we can live that normal life. It also, trauma sets up people to be re-victimized further on in life. And I did not realize this until I was in that position in 8th grade, but I was actually sexually assaulted when I was a younger child. By some family members. And it never hit me that that was abnormal until I felt abnormal in 8th grade and this happened to me. And then it began to set me on a path of maladaptive coping mechanisms, substance abuse, and leading into a lifestyle that was never what I was called for or intended to do. And that's what we see a lot of our survivors of sex trafficking coming out of and participating in. Until I had a kind of a catalyst moment in my life when I was 22. And for me, for everybody, it's something different. For me, it was a faith. I began to see a faith in a creator in a very different way. Rather than a lightning bolt casting, hellfire and brimstone kind of thing, it was more of a help for a hurting person, which I was. And I began to think, what if there is something more to life? What if this pause button on my life is actually supposed to be pushed into play? And so I began to own the change and own the fact that I think I was made for more, but I don't really know what that was. And so I began to walk out healing and go to counseling and really identify and adopt a lifestyle through my faith that helped propel me to connect with other people so that we could make an impact together. And so I adopted these three, in the realm that I'm in and in my faith, there are three prayers, but if you don't subscribe to a faith, think of them as three meditations that you can think of. And I really want you to do this for me. Think about these three very dangerous but very necessary meditations or prayers for your life. Number one, whatever. For me in my faith, it was, God, whatever you have for me, I want it. Whatever that is, use me as you will. If you can find anything in me to use that can do something, go for it. Whatever you want, I'm here. The second very dangerous thing to say is about your heart condition. Break my heart for the things that break yours. In this world, there are so many amazing social justice and humanitarian causes to get involved in. What are the things that break the heart of those we value? Listen to people talking. And so I prayed that very dangerous prayer. I said, break my heart for the things that break yours. Because that is going to create inside of me a catalyst to move me to help affect other people's trajectory in their life, just the way other people helped me heal from mine. And the third one is very powerful. And everybody, I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you look like, how old you are, what color, shade of brown or tan your skin is, everyone needs to embrace this. And that is, I said, God, let me see people the way you see them. So for all of us who may not subscribe to a faith, let me see people for their potential. When I'm in the grocery store and the checkout person is having a bad day and not paying attention to me, let me see beyond that cosmetic, maybe they're rude, or maybe I'm being rude. Maybe we're just having a bad interaction, or maybe I'm in a traffic jam and this person's cut me off. Let me see this person for their potential and their potential pain and cause my heart to shift and shape to care for them because they're a human. And we're all a part of humanity and we need each other. So three very dangerous meditations or prayers to think of, but honestly, very necessary for all of us. So then enter into life. I was in 2010, I was at a conference and this woman that I know was talking about how she leads these informational groups about human trafficking. And I thought, ugh. Okay, I don't really know what that is, but that doesn't sound like me. I'm more of the let's get a mani and pedi and go to the beach kind of thing. That's really my jam. How can I help people get engaged with that? But I thought that doesn't have anything to do with me. And 3 months later, I was getting ready to go somewhere to an event. And I'm not really a crier. I don't cry. It's not my thing. And out of the blue, the notion of human trafficking came to me. And I was on my knees crying about victims of sex trafficking and slavery, and I had no idea what that was. And so it was confirmed, the place that I went to that day, they mentioned it from the stage 3 times that day in 2010, and this was not a very widely talked about topic back then. So then I decided, okay, to stop the tear flow, because that's not my jam, I'm going to go and find that person I saw in that video and say, what are you doing? And so I went to that person, I went to their informational group to learn about sex trafficking, and the fact that it was here in the United States, and it was robbing children and adults in our community of their lives, and I was so offended. I was shattered and broken. I was offended. The notion of slavery, how dare someone think that they can own another human being? The audacity of that, it offended me. And then to find out it's not what we see in Hollywood. It's not like the movie Taken. You don't even have to be transported anywhere to be sex trafficked. One example of that is where I live. There was a mother who would leave and go to work, and the father would drug the 4-year-old with Benadryl. And people would come over to their house and pay to rape that child. And it shattered me because it shattered all the notions that I had of trafficking from all the Hollywood feature films that I had seen. And it made it very real and very relatable to where I was. And I knew then that this was something that it affected me to my core, and I was going to have to be involved. I couldn't sleep. It woke me up at night. It propelled me to get up and think about what can we do. And I began to lead these informational groups, but there was more. There was still kind of like that pause button was pushed. And even in this realm, even though I was doing what I felt like I was called to do, I felt like there was more. I don't want to sit in a chair and lead a group about information, although it's necessary. What I want to do is get up out of the chairs, out of the building, walk out into a lost and broken and enslaved world and bring hope and light. And so how can we do that? So then we began to build a team, because we're not an island and we're not supposed to do this by ourselves. And while I do think somewhere that I have that Liam Neeson kick down a door, go in and shoot bad guys mentality, that's not going to be effective for the cause because I don't have a badge and a gun and I'm going to look crazy. So we began to build a team of like-minded people and individuals who want to do something, who want to get out there and do awareness and do speaking, but who also want to go out on the streets at night and go and hug someone who just got beaten up and has blood coming down their lip because they were just beat up by someone who paid them for sex. Are there any other crazies out there like me that want to go do that? Who wants to go to hotels? Who wants to go to strip clubs? Who wants to go and love people and see them the way they're supposed to be seen and not judge them and not cast condemnation on them? Because I can be judged and condemned just as easily as the next person. And I don't want to be that because it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anything. Love is the only thing that's going to change things. So we began to build a team of amazing people. And then the team can get the work that you're doing, it can really take a toll on you. So it's very important to watch for burnout. It's really important to find that balance in life between amazing family, your job, whatever you're doing, and then this passion, this humanitarian crisis that will take over your life and propel you, and you're doing great work and you're changing the trajectory of other people's lives. There's just nothing greater than helping someone come out of a law enforcement operation and they're crying and they're broken and they're hurting and they don't really want you. They don't like you, but you love them through that pain. And after some time investing in them, they realize, yes, you're actually there to help them and you don't want anything in return. And you watch their life transform over months and months and possibly years, and their life trajectory changes. In trafficking, we see about 90% really just horrible things, the worst of humanity. The 10% that we do see, where life change happens, where freedom happens, where captivity stops for that person on the inside and on the outside, that 10%, that propels us to go and trudge through the rest of the 90% to get to yet another 10%. But it's important to have that balance and have people around you and over you to help you and watch you and safeguard you. And the other thing to realize here is, how do things get done? So how do we all come together? These amazing organizations, whether they're faith-based or government-based, whether they're schools, partnering with counselors, partnering with victim service providers, how do things get done? It's important to know that things get done in a coalition fashion, not competition. Because, how to say, I guess we'll just say it very bluntly. When we are seeking credit for what happens, for the goodness that happens, it is a killer for productivity in a humanitarian crisis. When we care less about the name on our shirt and who we're representing, and we care more about the cause, and we work together in a roundtable fashion, more gets accomplished, more lives get saved, more bad guys go to jail. We are more productive in changing the trajectory of people's lives, and that's how it happens. Coalition, not competition. So there's this message that just infected me for our team and what we do at Trafficking Hope. I'm the state director for this organization called Trafficking Hope, and basically we're kind of a plug-in program for any church that wants to have an anti-sex trafficking program at their church, and we give it away for free, and that's great. But really, what hit me, there's a message in the Bible that applies to me in my faith, and it's about this prophet named Elisha, and he was getting ready to die. He had high favor and anointing and calling and gifting on his life, just like every one of you. who were created to do something amazing. There's no one exempt from that. And he had this calling on his life. And the king of Israel went to him and said, hey, there's battles coming up, and I fear for our kingdom, and you're about to die, and this isn't good. And the man of God said, shoot your arrow out the window. And he did. And then he said, okay, go out there and pick up that arrow and strike the ground. And he goes out there, and the king picks up the arrow, and he strikes the ground 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And he stopped. And this prophet gets very mad at him, and he says, you should have struck the ground more times than that. You will only win 3 of your battles, and then that's it for you. And then the man of God dies. Well, if I'm that king, I'm really messed up, because you didn't tell me to strike, how many times to strike the ground. But the important factor was that prophet, that truth speaker, wanted to know how hungry this person was to propel his kingdom, to protect his kingdom, and to change the trajectory of the lives of the people that were in his care. And he did it 3 times and stopped. And so the nugget there of wisdom for our team is strike the ground. And I didn't tell you to stop. We're gonna go out and love people. We're going to love people through their pain, because of their pain, and in their pain. We're going to help people. We're going to love all people involved. We're going to help. We're not going to stop. There is no retirement in humanitarian crisis, because there's always humanitarian crisis going on. We don't have a retirement. There's no time to sit back on the couch and kick our feet up, because the reality is that we live in a broken world, and there are hurting people out there. And each and every single person viewing this, doesn't matter what your qualifications or disqualifications are. Stop disqualifying yourself from being able to make a difference. Because it doesn't matter if you're 5 years old or if you're 85 years old. Can you color a picture so that we can hand out that card on the streets at night? Or if you're 85 years old and you can't jump out of the van with us or go to the strip clubs with us, can you lead one of these informational groups? Can you encourage other people to get up and do it? Because you probably at 85 years old have some experience and wisdom the rest of us don't have. But what can you do? Leverage what's around you. You were called, you were gifted, you were created, and you were crafted to make an impact in people's worlds. So look around you. The second part of that strike the ground message was that prophet, that man of God, he had a calling, he had gifts, he had anointing, and when he died and they buried him, it went with him into that tomb and into that grave. And sometime later, the man who had passed away, and his friends were getting ready to bury this man in the village. And when they were burying him, they saw these grave robbers coming in the distance. And so they didn't want his body to be, taken over by them. So they grabbed the dead man, and they threw him in the tomb. And when his body hit the bones of Elisha, that prophet, he came back to life. The nugget there is that your passion, your training, your resources, your anointing, your calling, whatever you have to make an impact was never meant to go to death with you. You're always, all of us, we are always meant to raise up another leader next to us, bring them into their excellence, and help bring them into the calling where they can make an impact. It's got to be generational. So we have got to infect those around us with the hope that no matter where they subscribe, whether it's a faith or a non-faith, it doesn't matter. Stop disqualifying yourselves. You're called to make an impact and change people's lives. And that's what we do in the realm of sex trafficking and human trafficking. It doesn't matter who, where, when, how. You can leverage what happened to you in your past in 8th grade and allow that to be healed, and then go out and heal the others who have faced that. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage all of you to get involved. Why are you created? What were you created for? If you're listening to this, maybe this is what you're created for. Get involved, because it doesn't matter what you think you can disqualify yourself with. If I need to, I'll come back around and tell you what qualifies you to get involved in this fight. Thank you.